Okay. All right. I believe we are live. Let's see here. Getting sorted out here, guys. Technical side. Okay. I am actually, it looks like the time change might have messed people up a little bit. I only see 6 people here. Nothing in the chat yet. All right, beautiful. I think we're live. I think we're good. Let us know if you can hear us, see us, etc. Welcome back to another episode of whatever we're calling this. Ask Us Anything Q&A. Jesse Bayer, Carl Marsan of Abundant Living. We are a real estate and development company located in the Vilcabamba, Loja area of Southern Ecuador. I'm actually sitting here at Descanso del Toro, which is a hotel here in Vilcabamba. We're in between houses. We got all kinds of madness going on. We just got back from the coast. And this is actually where we're going to be hosting the retreat as well. I promise you, we did not plan it that way, but it works well that I'm here. This is one of the buildings behind me. My kids are in that pool right there. It's really beautiful. I've eaten here before, and obviously I've been in and out a little bit, just sort of meeting people, but I had never seen it. Really. It's really actually gorgeous. This hotel is also for sale. I believe it's on the website. It's 30 seconds outside of town. It's a really sweet spot if you're looking to run a hotel or do any sort of other type of, whether it's long-term housing or whether it's some sort of retreat center or corporate retreat center, anything like that. Pretty cool spot, definitely. So again, welcome, Jesse Bayer, Carl Marsan. Thanks for being with us. I gotta change my name on these things. Wonder if I can figure out how to do this live. It's probably a bad idea. Anyways, so thanks again for being here. So this is live Q&A. It's 6:34 right now. As we can, accurate depiction as we can on Ecuador, on all things Vilcabamba, all things Ecuador, all things real estate. Is saying that my connection is unstable. Hopefully you guys are hearing me. I don't know, Carl, am I breaking up on your end?
You broke up for just a second there. I couldn't hear you. I walked out. I thought maybe my connection was not great.
Okay, yeah, you had frozen on my end too. I thought it was you, but I think it was me. So, okay. Anyways, thanks for being with us. Looks like the questions are starting to roll in, so let's do it. First question is, what is the cost of building a house from scratch? So yeah, that's obviously a question we get a lot. It's a great question. A lot of people want to come down here and build, and basically, the probably sort of standard answer on that is you're looking at about $400 to $800 per square meter, depending on your quality of finishing materials. So your structural materials don't change the cost all that much. It's all about the quality and level of luxury of the finishing materials you use, and that's why it's a pretty wide range. But for $500, $600, $700 a square meter, $800 certainly, you can build beautiful, beautiful stuff. The hotel you're looking at behind me is probably actually on the lower end. That's probably about a $400 square meter build, something like that, of that sort of style. Some of those construction prices, we have seen some increase in material cost of materials here a little bit recently, as is happening globally. So those numbers have gone up slightly, but still, beautiful, beautiful stuff in that range for sure. Okay. So yeah, and average lot size, I'm not sure what you mean by that. And meters. I come from feet. I know a lot of you probably come from feet, but here everything is in meters. 1,000 meters is a quarter acre. So for every 1,000 meters, you can calculate that to a quarter acre. So the average lot size here in this area is usually around 2,500 square meters for like a lot you're going to build on. There's smaller ones certainly, right in town. But generally speaking, and in developments, there's some smaller ones, but generally about 2,500 square meters, which again in acres would be about 6/10 or 6,500ths of an acre, something like that. Okay, where's the hotel located? Right in Vilcabamba. Carl, do you have the info on the tip of your tongue on the hotel, as far as, can you run through some of the highlights of the hotel?
I don't have the info, the exact info. Yeah, I don't want to say anything. I'm not too sure the size. It might be an acre, maybe a little under an acre. It's a big property for a town, for being in Vilcabamba. Um, it's a beautiful hotel. I think there's 25 rooms, if I'm not mistaken. 24 rooms, 25 rooms. Um, two swimming pools. There's a restaurant. There's a wedding area, beautiful outdoor area for events, weddings, and things like that. There's a little chapel on the property. There's a tennis court. It's a very special property. We have a listing for it on our website. It's the first one that comes up if you go in the Vilcabamba section.
Perfect. Yeah, it's beautiful. The restaurant is really, really gorgeous. It's like, I don't know what, must have 50-foot high ceilings or something. And it's very, very beautiful. Okay. Feet also. Yeah, I'll do my best, Andrew, to jump back and forth. So yeah, as far as square meters to square feet, so it's about 11 to 1, right? So in other words, 100 square meters, which let's say costs you 50 grand, right, at $500 a square meter. That would be about 1,100 square feet approximately. So it's about 11 to 1. I think it's like 10.7 something to 1, something like that. Are there shortages or lack of availability for building items or appliances? No, none, zero whatsoever. My wife's from Cuenca and we're thinking of retiring over there soon. Yeah, Cuenca is nice. It's cold. That would be my only warning against Cuenca, but nice city, nice place for sure. Our website is abecuador.com. That's A as in apple, B as in boy, Ecuador. Soon. We're building sort of a Cadillac website. Guys, if you are watching this, help us out. Give us a like, please. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel too. We put out a lot of content frequently. And if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, you'll get that content, get the notification of that content. We greatly appreciate it. All right. Hopefully the time change didn't screw people up here too badly, Carl. We are not getting the same rate of questions we normally do. So yeah, we're here live until about 7:30. It's about 6:39 now. So hopefully people start to tune in. I guess it is a little later in the evening. We usually go at 5 o'clock. I requested a 6:30 time change because I wanted to get a massage. and and I was on the coast for a month. I was missing my masseuse greatly, who keeps my body functioning. And she's very sought after. So there was only one slot. I took it. I screwed up Carl's night. I screwed up all these people's nights, but I appreciate everybody for being here. Okay. Work stress compared to the US. What do you think, Carl?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not the perfect person to be asked because I never really worked like the rat race back in Canada where I'm from. Jesse, you probably have more of a good perspective to compare them, but I can say people here are way more relaxed. Tranquilo is a term that you hear a lot here. It's like slow down, calm down. The pace of life is way more relaxed when it comes to work. Ecuadorians, take vacations. They don't work on the weekends. They end at 5 and they don't, they don't overtime or anything like that doesn't really exist here. So I would say definitely definitely less stressful, much less stressful than the Western world in general.
Yeah, 100%. I certainly agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I worked my brains out in New York for many years. I also worked my brains out here for many years, but that's just me. I would say, the culture here has a much healthier relationship to work-life balance, and keeping stress. I'd say the culture here, people don't stress here really about anything. People are very much, they take what comes, they take it as it is. It's a low stress culture. It's a low stress country. It's a low stress society. If people have a problem, they try to solve it, but they don't get all up in arms about it. And in fact, it's frowned upon to do so, right? You really can't walk around all stressed out and upset and angry, and people will not rock with you if you do that. So don't come here and do that, because people won't like you. Andrew, you're from Jersey. Yeah, I spent many years in New York City. I miss the area, actually. I love that area, tri-state area. Are multiple dwellings allowed to be built on a single property? Yes, absolutely. Are there flights available from Quito and Guayaquil to Loja? Yeah. So there's 2 flights a day, Quito to Loja currently. There used to be 2 flights a day for many years, Guayaquil to Loja. That stopped during COVID, and then I believe, Carl, do you know what? I think it's 1 flight a week now, Guayaquil to Loja directly. I don't know if that's accurate.
I did not know that. I thought there were no flights between Guayaquil and Loja.
Maybe it
still.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's either 0 or there's 1 a week, but you can fly from Guayaquil to Quito and then Quito to Loja. That's a way to do it, but it's a lot easier right now to get to Quito by air than Guayaquil. Hey, Patrick, hope you're doing well. Yeah, so we are live, and hopefully some more people tune in and start asking questions here shortly. What are the costs add utilities to a property that is rural? To add, I guess you mean to add utilities. Yeah, so infrastructure costs like utilities, I mean, it all depends on the distance you're running things, right? So if you're close to the electricity, it's free. If it's within, I forget if it's 100 meters or 200 meters to an existing transformer, the power company will come and just hook it up for free. If you're outside of that range, then it starts to cost money, and it gets significantly more expensive. The more power line you have to buy, and the more more poles you have to put in, and then sometimes you have to buy a transformer as well. The transformer alone is going to cost like $3 to $6 grand, depending on the size that you need of the transformer, and then the cost just expands as you add distance. Water in general is very inexpensive, so that usually costs almost nothing, really, almost regardless of the situation. I mean, we ran a water line, a 3 or 4 inch water line. I think it was 4 kilometers, or a little bit more than 4 kilometers. And that whole project, start to finish, labor, materials, we buried the line. It was mountainous terrain. It was a lot of work. That whole entire endeavor, I think, was like 16 grand or something. And that was 4 kilometers of distance.
Yeah, that was a big project. Typically, you don't need to run, a water line that far. It was an area that doesn't have much water, probably. So most people spend way less than that, right? And there's potable water lines, all over the place for, all around Vilcabamba, for example. So usually you can tap into those for the water, and there's typically a upfront fee, like to join the water association. You have to buy like a water right, and then after that, it's a monthly fee. It's usually not very much, $10-20 maybe maximum, usually less even. And then there's also irrigation canals all throughout, at least our valley here. So a lot of times you'll have potable water and irrigation water as well, in most cases. And I was going to say also, for internet, the internet providers, they are offering very cheap internet installation, and they install fiber optic internet in very remote areas. I'm very surprised sometimes where I go to like this valley that doesn't even have road access, and you have like fiber optic internet there, because when there's a demand for it, it makes sense for the internet providers to hook it up.
Let me know in the chat if
was I cutting out there? Because every time I sit in, it seems like the connection goes away, but I don't know if it's me or it's you.
I don't know either. I'm at a hotel, guys, so I'm on a Wi-Fi here at the hotel, but I have had your connection is unstable message on my end a couple of times, so it could be me. Okay. On my end, you cut out for just 1 second at the end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was okay. So how well do you see the stars in Vilcabamba?
Well, I see some stars. There's a little bit of clouds back behind me. I would say you can, compared to where I'm from, you could see. I mean, I'm from Canada, right? Sort of an urban area. You couldn't see anything really. Over here, there's very little light pollution. You can see the stars really, really well.
Yeah, yeah, I second that. A plus on the stars. I mean, I initially grew up in rural Vermont where you had phenomenal, no very little or if any light pollution. The stars were, A plus there, and they are A plus here. Amazing. Of course, yeah, clouds don't count on that. Um, any updates on the retreat idea? Yeah, we are plugging away fast and furious on the planning of that. It's really coming together nicely. We will have a date on that. I would say for sure in the next few days. We will have a definitive date. We're just finishing up figuring out, just pricing everything. The schedule's done. Excuse me, we're just pricing everything, and then we've got to build a very simple website that'll take a day or two. So we should be, I don't know, a week away or something like that from having the website live where people can actually sign up. We'll do a Q&A on it. We'll talk about it. We'll do some videos on it. It's really going to be a lot of fun. The schedule is beautiful. You want to talk about that at all?
You pretty much touched on it. Yeah, we're finishing up the schedule. Once again, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited about it, and it should be pretty much, shall we say, by next week, we'll have all the information ready by this coming week.
I think so. I think that's a good deadline to hold ourselves to. So, let's see, is crime increasing? Yeah, I mean, not in this area. I don't know, if I've heard, there's been reports that I've read where, I think like they've had issues in the prisons. Guayaquil, I know the crime has increased there. There was some sort of drug cartel kind of war going on the coast where I know some drug cartel members shot each other. But no, in our area, not at all. Countrywide, I don't really know the statistics, but maybe they're increasing, but certainly not in our area.
Yeah, I would second that. One second that.
Or is public. So you have to apply for a permit, a concession is what they call it here, to do anything. Now, there's all kinds of, that's a long topic and a large conversation, but with certain things, it's not a big deal at all. But with things like mining, for example, gold, things like that, that is something that's pretty heavily restricted and regulated. There's ways around everything here, but yeah, that's kind of the short answer. All the stars in Vilcabamba I can see from Ontario, Canada. Any clubs available in Vilca? I assume you mean nightclubs. No, man, you should come down and open one. There's probably the demand for it at this point, but I guess there's breakies, Carl. I've never been there. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I don't know if they're still open.
Oh, really?
I mean, to be honest, we live kind of close to there, and we used to hear them a lot when they would, have parties there. It's not a club per se; it's more like a bar slash. They have live music events. They have bands and stuff. There's a few places that have live music, like late at night. They're more like restaurant type bars, but not like nightclubs per se. There's really none in Vilcabamba.
Yeah, I mean, Vilcabamba is changing here rapidly. It's on the come, so to speak. So there's a lot of new interest. There's a lot of people coming. Things are being developed here quickly. So those sorts of things will start to spring up for sure. The ones that aren't here. I think it's a good idea. I hope you come down and open a nightclub. In your individual opinions, what investment has the potential for the highest yield? Crops, building, sectioning land for resale lot? Well, those are my favorite outside of building. Building is a lower margin business than the other two you mentioned, certainly. But agriculture here, if you're doing the right crops at scale, is phenomenally lucrative, as is subdivision. So, those are really our two primary businesses outside of the real estate company. And they are, I mean, the returns on them are significantly higher than in the US and other places. And I think they rival one another. Just it all depends on how you do it, where you do it, what crops, if you're in agriculture or where, and how you go about the vision and the execution on the land side. How long does it usually take to build a house? What do you think, Carl?
Well, conservatively, I would say about a year. Now, that being said, people do it in less than that, um, with 9 months, 6 months, that would be very, very quick, depending on the size of the house, the crew. What would you say from your
Yeah,
experience?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, that time would include the design and the approvals for the permits. So yeah, that 6 to 12 month timeline I think is exactly right. Again, you can get it done faster or really fast if you want to, double the crew, double everything, push, push, push. You can do that, but yeah, generally that 6 to 12 month time frame is about right, start to finish. Um, how many cars are there? How much cars? Oh, how much are cars there? I can read. Um, yeah, so cars are more expensive than back home in the States, but not crazy more expensive. So I bought a couple of cars recent. So we can talk new and we can talk used. Let me talk new for a second. So I bought a couple of cars recently. I bought two new cars. So I bought a Toyota Hilux, which is a diesel pickup truck, and I bought a Toyota Fortuner, which is an SUV. Now, the Fortuner in the States would be a low end SUV. It's decent size, so it's not one of those like compact or smaller SUVs, but it doesn't have any bells and whistles. There's no sunroof. It's a 2.7 liter engine. It's not anywhere in the neighborhood of a luxury car back home. Here, it's kind of a luxury car. It's not like actually a luxury car even here, but it's a nicer car here. That car, I think, was, now I'm going to forget how much it was. I think it was, you know what? I have to ask my wife. She's behind me. She'll tell me in a minute. It was like 40 something thousand, I think. The pickup truck, which is, again, it's a diesel engine, but it's a turbo, but it's also not a huge engine. I think it's 2.3 liter or something. That was 50,000 all in. So that gives you comparison if you know the price of pickup trucks or sort of lower end but big SUVs back home. The used car market is worse. It's more expensive, I should say. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Used cars don't lose a lot of value, basically. So you older cars like a 2005 might still cost like $10,000 plus. I mean, depending on the type of cars and stuff, you can basically not find a car under $5,000. Like, that's basically non-existent, and it's going to be a pretty awful car at that price. Um, so that gives you an idea. Like, I know where I'm from, you can still buy a car for $500, like an old, like a old car that nobody wants. It's so expensive to get a mechanics to fix anything in the Western world that cars get devalued very rapidly. Plus, it's so expensive to fix them that people give them away for almost for free sometimes. Whereas here, that's not the case. Anyone can fix anything. Old cars are being rebuilt, engines are being rebuilt, parts are being put in, new parts. So older cars are still running almost like new in some ways. So the downside, you have to pay a lot more upfront, but the upside is you can resell for almost the same as you purchase your car in some instances, right? So yeah, that's what I could say. So you'll be surprised when you get here. If you want to buy a car, you'll be like, wow, I'm going to spend 15 grand for this car, where I could buy the same car for maybe 2, 3, 4 grand in the US. But it's probably going to be in better shape, probably because it's been probably repaired and stuff. And also you can fix it for pretty cheap. So that sort of gives you an idea here.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that there's something else I want to touch on there that brings up, right? It's a different calculation here always on everything, but on all those things in the States and other places, right? Labor is so expensive that it's hard to have anything custom made. It's hard to have anything fixed. When the calculations on it just don't make sense. It's easier to throw it away and buy a new one. It's going to cost less, right? And the other thing is that there's so much regulation, and there's so much bureaucracy, and there's so much insurance companies and other layers of different regulatory agencies, and just bureaucracy, and just middlemen that get involved in everything back home, that there's all these extra layers of cost and calculations that change the calculation, right? So here, if you're, for example, when I first got to Ecuador, I bought a brand new Chevy diesel pickup truck, and then I crashed it like not that long after that, some 6 months later or something, right? And we're going to write you a check for it. And I didn't have insurance. I took it to be repaired, and it cost about $5,000 to basically rebuild the whole front end of the car, including a large section of the car, right? Cost $5,000, labor, parts, all brand new, all original parts, etc. So that's those calculations here are just different on everything. It includes labor when you want to hire people, includes when you want to have things built, right? You can custom make things here inexpensively and really high quality. People are very talented. There's a lot of great craftsmen, amazing artisans and craftspeople, and tradespeople, and so on and so forth. So it's a society and a culture that it's not a consumer culture here, right? It's a culture that they fix everything. They know how to use their hands. They still have those skills, right, that we probably lost some generations back, at least some of us, me included. So it's just a different sort of way of going about life, and I like that. Okay. Is it possible to find land and build a good quality house on it for under 200,000? I mean, you could do that for under 100,000. So 200,000 is very easy for sure. Can you talk a little bit about it depends where, it depends size. There's lots of variables, but yes, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about do you want to add to that at all, Carl? Oh, hold on. I'm not hearing you. You're muted.
Sorry. Yes. I apologize. Yeah. I think my connection's bad. That's why I keep moving around. I apologize.
I think it's me, man. Every time you move, my screen flashes at me that my connection's unstable.
Oh, okay. Okay. I felt like every time I go inside, anyways. Yeah. Well, I was going to say for 200,000, you could definitely build a very nice home. I mean, buy a nice piece of land and build a very nice home, very comfortable home.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the most profitable crops to grow and the agricultural business opportunities that can be started on small to medium-sized farms, fruit trees, avocados, and others? Yeah, I mean, this is a large topic. So as far as what crops to grow, there are a lot. And there's different ways you can approach this, and there's different so first of all, you got to decide, are you talking domestic market or export? Because those are really different as far as how you would approach that, right? In the domestic market in Ecuador, there's lots and lots of crops that are not grown commonly in Ecuador and therefore are expensive, but they have great growing conditions here. So those are great things to get into in Ecuador. There's also crops that just have a very high production per square meter or per hectare, whatever, however you're calculating, and have high margins, right? So it's easy to produce. They're short cycle crops, and the margins on them are high. Watermelon's an example of that, right? A watermelon here costs comparatively a lot, right? You spend anywhere from $1 to like $7 for a watermelon, which is expensive for a piece of fruit here. And they produce 2 to 3 watermelons per plant, and they produce a huge, they're very dense crop, and they're 3 to 4 month cycles, and right. So that's an example. There's also all kinds of niche markets that are just, for example, there's all kinds of niche markets that are just not widely available here. Certain types of greens, certain types of lettuces, all kinds of greens that are just not widely produced, but there is demand for. And then again, going back to those crops that are, you could, for example, Carl, nuts, right, are so expensive here. There's beautiful growing conditions here for nuts. Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
No, I was going to just second what you're saying. Nuts are very expensive. The main reason I believe is because they're imported, and the import taxes are so high. My understanding is that was actually done to a certain extent to stimulate the Ecuadorian economy so that Ecuador would start producing its own, various things, right? Not just nuts, but, Ecuador could produce all kinds of nuts, but Ecuador now imports a lot of those. So if Ecuador started producing those, they could be sold here for, very high margin, most likely, and be very profitable.
Yeah. And these are businesses, by the way, that we do this, right? So if you're interested in that, reach out to us. Let's talk about it. We're launching new agricultural projects, regularly. We're looking at a new one now. We should have that ready over the next few months. But yeah, there's lots. So that's domestic market, nuts, berries. There's tons of stuff. That's a long conversation. If you're looking for export, again, the list is very long. But what's interesting about the export market is that your labor costs here, your energy costs here, your overhead in general, just your input costs are so low, and the growing conditions are phenomenal. So anything that has a good market internationally, just producing it at scale here, you're going to do very, very well. You mentioned avocados, phenomenal business. That one is of course a little longer term because it takes some years for the trees to start producing, but once they are, that's a phenomenal business. Is that right? The Hilux is illegal in the US. Interesting. Yeah, it's a great truck. I like it. Always fixing them though. All right, I haven't had that problem yet. Fingers crossed. Buy a Chevy. Yeah, I like the Chevys too. And the Chevys here, they what's the word? Forgetting the word, but
They're assembled here.
Assembled, that's the word. They assemble them in Ecuador. Thank you. So they're a little cheaper, and they're pretty good. I had a D-Max before, which I liked quite a bit. Coming to Vilcabamba May 14th, meeting with Ryan, flying into Guayaquil. Need to rent a car. Should I book in advance or just wait until I arrive? Do I need a 4x4 for exploring? Yeah, I mean, if you're driving here from Guayaquil and you're gonna rent a car in Guayaquil, that's really easy. 4x4 would be preferable in this region, not like absolutely necessary or anything, but preferable, depending on how rural you want to get. But yeah, you can book in advance in Guayaquil a rental car, no problem. They have all the large rental car companies there. Okay, Nissan Pathfinder, yeah, they have those here. How often does real estate get assessed for tax valuations upon purchase or every so many years? Oh, I don't know that answer exactly. I know that so that happens through the municipio, and the voting on the formula of how they assess taxes is done by the concejales, which are like the city council, and that happens every period of time. I don't know if it's every 4 years, every 2 years. I'm not sure. But the tax assessment here does not matter because your real estate taxes are so low that it makes really no difference whatsoever. They charge 0.1% of the assessed value annually. So on $1 million property, you're paying $1,000 a year in property taxes. And on $1 million property of assessed value, it's probably a $5 million property, or 2 million or 5 million, right? It's much higher market value. Okay, I'm from Montreal. Last I heard, Vilcabamba population is around 5,000 to 7,000 people. How fast is it growing? What do you think, Carl?
It's a good question. I've always thought it was around 7,000. So I think I'm assuming maybe we're a little closer to 8,000 now, but honestly, I don't think we have any accurate figures. So.
Yeah. I mean, when I got here, it was 5,000. That was like the accepted number. It's grown a lot since then. So that was 2013. So I don't know either. I think 8,000 is a good guess. Established a credit history. Oh, okay. Hold on. I might have cut out there for a second. Sorry, guys. I'm on a. Yeah, I'm on a. Oh, you didn't hear the question? Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me go back here. Let me know, guys, if you're having trouble hearing me.
I didn't hear anything you said just now, but it might be me. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Shoot. All right. Having a internet issue. I don't know if you guys are hearing me here, guys. I'm going to, I think I'm having an internet issue here, Carl, unfortunately.
I can hear you now. I mean, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay. All right, guys. Let me know in the chat how it's, if it's fairly smooth, I'll just keep rolling here. If not, I'll let you talk for a minute and get up and see what I can do. Yeah, so asking about interest rates and mortgages in Ecuador. As a foreigner, you can't get a mortgage for the first year or two that you live here until you have a cedula and establish a credit history. We are working on solutions for that. Interest rates here are very high, though. They're normally on a mortgage, you're around 16%. Those numbers have come down a bit. You can find stuff a little bit cheaper occasionally now. I have gotten loans here for 11, 12%, but you're going to be in the double digits for sure. Once you're here, you can absolutely get a mortgage, and it's a little bit, well, it's a little bit different process than back home, but if you have the right connections, it's a little bit easier. Okay. Excuse the redundancy if you answered this question before, but what would good private medical insurance cost in Ecuador? Gosh, I haven't helped clients with that in some years. Have you done that recently? I can talk about it from a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't know the figures. I know it depends on your age, it depends on your sex and stuff like that. There's various price points. For me at my age, it was like extremely cheap. But I think, yeah, it goes up as you're a little older. But what do you remember?
I don't know. I mean, the range when I was helping clients with this a few years ago was basically anywhere from about $40 or $60 on the low end up to a couple of hundred a month if you were older with medical problems and wanted like a Cadillac policy. But it's very, very inexpensive in comparison. In regards to crops, does anyone grow pomegranates down there? That's a great one. Pomegranates are expensive here, not widely available, not widely grown. Yeah, so that'd be a cool one for sure. What's the price of building private roads, gravel I don't have a price per square meter, unfortunately, or price per cubic. I guess it's cubic. I don't even know. I do, but we do help people build roads. We've built a lot of roads ourselves, but I'm not the guy who actually does it. They're fairly expensive in the Orient and the Amazonian region where the land is very soft. You can build roads very inexpensively if they're, if the land is relatively firm. But as far as costs, I don't know how to give numbers on that. I mean, I built a 800 meter road. Wait, was it 800 meters? You know what? I don't want to give numbers, guys. I don't want to mess you up. I'd say it's probably 10 or 20% of whatever that would be in the States. But I would have a hard time giving numbers. I guess, I don't know. Is there examples? Go ahead, Carl. You got something to say on that?
Well, I forget the figure, but I thought I heard you and Ryan talk about a price per kilometer of just actually putting the road in. That doesn't include the gravel, of course. It's just the machine.
But it depends. Yeah, but I mean, if it's flat, it costs almost nothing, right? Well, we can talk about it from that standpoint, right? So the machine cost here, the cost of the equipment, right, is you're going to spend anywhere from about $15 on the lowest end up to about $70 an hour on the highest end. That's for the largest equipment. With a driver, including everything per hour, right? So let's say you need a retroexcavadora, which is like a backhoe. That's going to cost you around $17 to $20 an hour, everything included. So that's your cost on that. If you want a huge excavator, that's where you get up to $60, $70, $80 an hour, but they work 3 times, 4 times faster, at least. So it depends. So that's your cost per hour. So you can compare that certainly to back home, right? So if the road's flat, if you're building a flat road, it costs almost nothing. It gets more expensive if you have to put gravel for sure. I don't know the exact costs on the gravel, but that does get a little more costly. But if you're building a road, that's uphill into the mountain, that takes a lot more time. So you're your costs would go up. What do you think about the Ecuadorian soccer team? Carl, are you a soccer fan? Come
So
on, man,
funny.
you're Canadian.
I honestly have no clue,
Oh,
but it's
you're
so
frozen.
important for the
Probably means
Ecuadorian
I'm
culture.
frozen.
Like, am I frozen?
All right. I don't know if Carl will be back in a second. Hopefully I'm good here, but you back? All right.
Am I
Oh,
back? I oh gosh, my connection's back. Can you hear me?
all right. Looks like I'm back. Carl, did you want to talk about soccer a bit? I'm gonna switch my Wi-Fi connection here to a different one and see if that does better while you talk about soccer.
Okay, sure. Well, I was gonna say honestly, I have no clue. I'm really not a soccer fan or well versed in soccer. Uh, but it is so important for the Ecuadorian culture. Like it's a huge deal. We were in Guayaquil over the weekend, and like we'd get in taxis, and taxi drivers would like be asking us about if we know about the Guayaquil soccer team and stuff. And it's such a big deal when there's a big soccer game here. Everyone's in the restaurants watching the TV. You know, they're cheering for their favorite teams. Like if you're in town and there's a soccer game playing, you know when someone scored because everyone's like cheering and screaming and the whole town can tell, you know. So it's almost a religion for people here. The soccer, it's the national sport. But I really don't have that much knowledge about it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, guys. If I'm having yeah, Carl's signal is fine. Just he has the issue. Yeah, I'm on a hotel Wi-Fi here. Sorry about that, guys. Carl, I'm gonna give you one more question. And I'm gonna switch to one other and try one other Wi-Fi connection they have here. So the next question is and I'll come back and tell you what I know about soccer. What are the best value building materials, structural walls, roofing, woodwork for durability with local weather needs?
That's a
Go ahead,
good
Carl.
question. I'm not sure. Woodwork, I would say not. Um, Typically, best value. What I hear these days is a metal structure. So like the whole structure of the house is metal with a metal roof. You can add tiles on top and brick walls. That is the best value, if I'm not mistaken here. People use, concrete columns and rebar as well, but that's I think a little more expensive than a metal structure. But it's more solid for sure. And then walls can be made out of bricks. It's very common. Like this is like an office in the back of my house. It's the walls are very sloppy made, but yeah, bricks is a good material. It can be plastered. It can be made a lot nicer than what's in my background here. And you have adobe, which is the clay blocks, clay bricks. It's very nice material. It's heavier. It's a little more labor intensive and a little more costly, but it's very very durable. It has like a thermal mass type of effect where it's when it's hot outside, it'll be cold, a little cooler inside, and when it's really cold outside, the heat will come in through the walls. So that's a really nice building material. Um, and then tile roofs. You have a metal roof, but then you have tiles on top. That's very common here. It's actually really nice, durable, long term. Some of those newer tiles that are glazed, they last forever, and they're beautiful homes. Very very well built homes that you have here. Wood is not very common actually. It's mostly common for finishes. So you might have like a wood floor or wood roof, maybe some wood things in the house, but like cabinets. But houses are typically not made out of wood. Doors maybe will be made out of wood. Windows sometimes. Um, yep.
All right. Hopefully, I'm relatively back here. I've tried two or three of the different Wi-Fi options here. We'll see. This one seems to be a little better. So going back to soccer for a second. So I've watched them in the World Cup. I think they made two of the three World Cups that have been since I've been here. I think there was one that they didn't make. People love it. It's really a huge thing here. I'm not a soccer fan, but I got to say I enjoyed getting into it when they were in the World Cup, watching the Ecuador team and the U.S. team.
Cool. Well, it looks like Jesse froze here. Let's see. I'll just find a question. I have it here. Are there still good deals left in the Malacatos Valley for land purchases for growing crops? Do locals want to sell, or do you have to twist their arms a bit to get them to sell? That's a good question. Malacatos Valley. Malacatos has a lot of agricultural areas. Still, there's a lot of sugarcane being grown there. It's good agricultural land, especially up in the mountains. I would say there are definitely still some land and land available for purchase. Good deals for sure in the Malacatos Valley. I would say down in the valley, it's if you're talking about the Valley, it's expensive actually. Now in Malacatos area, if you go up the mountains, like maybe 10-15 minute drive up the mountain, you still have some relatively good deals for land for agriculture. Down in the valley is expensive. Actually, if that was your question, Malacatos is very sought after by Lojanos, people from the city of Loja, expats as well. Price per square meter is actually higher sometimes in Vilcabamba down in the urban area, which the valley typically is where people live. Up in the mountains is where people do more agriculture.
Yeah, I would second all that. I mean, if I were, we're doing an agricultural project about 20 minutes from Vilcabamba, and we bought about 20 hectares of land for somewhere around 180,000 or something like that, which was a pretty good deal at the time for what it was. But compared to some other areas with probably even better growing conditions, that's really expensive, right? So these are not the regions, and in Malacatos, you would never find that price. These are not the regions I would do, large scale agricultural stuff in, just again, because they are sought after for residential use. I think I'm frozen here again. Oh, it's frustrating. Sorry guys. It is what it is. I will figure out a better Wi-Fi connection for tomorrow at 5. Go ahead.
I heard everything you said. You didn't cut out at all, actually. Maybe you cut out for a second there.
All right.
Does Vilcabamba have gym, sports facility, community center, cultural center? There is one main gym, private gym. You have to pay for membership or a daily rate. It's pretty good. I used to work out there a lot more when I had more time, but it's a nice gym actually. For comparatively, there was another gym before that was way lower quality. So the gym now you can get a good workout in for sure. Sport facility, there's a Coliseo. It's basically like a gymnasium type of place where locals will play soccer, volleyball, basketball as well, with basketball hoops there. So you have to sort of rent it out. I mean, not rent it out, it's free, but you have to schedule when you want to use it. We used to actually play basketball in there and have a few days a week where we scheduled like 2 hours or 3 hours to play, and we were allowed to use it there. Cultural center, community center, there's not really that going on. There's a library that's for children that is kind of used as a cultural center in some way. Community centers, those things are missing here actually. Am I missing something, Jesse? Did you hear what I said?
Cultural center. I switched over to my phone just on the regular data. We'll see how that does. I missed most of that, Carl. So no, I'm sorry, I can't chime in there. Let me know, guys, if this is better. Hopefully this is better than the Wi-Fi connection. Jumping back to that structural, cost question. Your structural question as far as the weather. Certainly concrete, steel, all that kind of stuff is going to hold up very well structurally. But yeah, I think you probably talked about Adobe and Tapia and those things. They hold up remarkably well too. I mean, you see 100-year-old Adobe structures regularly that are in pretty good shape. Okay. Are there, let's see. Yeah, you hit that already. Does anyone grow hazelnuts there? Yeah, I mean, nuts, it seems like it would be great for regenerative agriculture and erosion control. I don't know a lot about that as far as the what hazelnuts do for regenerative agriculture and erosion control specifically. That's certainly an excellent goal. No, hazelnuts are not grown here. They're expensive. That would be another interesting crop for sure. Okay, I think you hit that. How many pizza by the slice businesses in Vilca, or ice cream businesses, or Malacatos? What do you think?
Well, I think there are 3 or 4 places that offer pizza. Actually, there's probably more. By the slice, I'm not really sure. There's a few places that offer pizza by the slice. Ice cream is very popular here. There's actually quite a few places where you can get ice cream in Vilcabamba. There's the locals. One thing that local people do on the weekend, people from the city, like Lojanos, they come to Vilcabamba to have an ice cream. The whole family, eats ice cream in the square and then goes back to Loja. Like that's a common thing people do. So there's a lot of ice cream available here as well. There's actually a more like natural ice cream as well. Paletas, those type of things as well are available here. So I would say it's in that sense, like pizza and ice cream is already kind of somewhat competitive in our area.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed on all of that. Although there was like a natural ice cream shop, Carl, you'll of course remember, in Vilca that closed down maybe a year or two ago. That was
right.
Excellent. It would be awesome to have that back. Okay. What city in Ecuador where cost of living is relatively low and less crime? Loja. I mean, that's Loja hands down. It's the safest large city in Ecuador. And it's the cheapest large city in Ecuador as far as cost of living by far. I was in Manta recently, which I love Manta. It's my Manta and Loja are my two favorite cities in Ecuador. It's significantly more expensive in Manta, rent, construction, etc. Anything to add there?
I would, second what you said and say, like, people in Loja will tell you Loja is safe. Like people in Loja are not worried about crime. I mean, of course there is, sometimes there is crime, but very, very rare. It's the safest city in Ecuador by far. I would say Loja could even be, it's even cheaper than Vilcabamba when it comes to cost of living. Rentals are typically cheaper in Loja. Food will be a little bit cheaper in Loja, of course, just because of transportation reasons.
Yep. Okay. Info regarding health insurance. I'm 61, just got a price globally covered Excel USA, and $290 a month was the number. Yeah, I don't know that company. I don't know if that's probably not Ecuador specific, but thank you. All right. Any areas for fishing close to Loja, Vilcabamba? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's trout in the streams. You can fish that. They're small, but they're trout in the streams. And then there's a river. Carl, what do they call that river? I always forget. It's later. It's Rio Catamayo, but the one that runs through Quinara. That's the best fishing river. What's the name of that river?
I think it's called the Catamayo River.
Okay,
Even
yeah. I mean, they have another
Quinara,
name for it.
It starts being called the Catamayo River there.
Yeah. Yeah, that river has like 7 or 8 different kinds of fish in it. People fly fish with regularly as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. Does Vilca have an internet gaming center for locals or tourists, a place to work on computers? I mean, cyber cafes here are common. They're probably not what you're thinking of. They're probably a little bit more modest, perhaps, than you're thinking, but you can do that at different restaurants and cafes as well. That would be cool, though. That would be a cool cool thing to add to the community. Do you think there is a market for imparting motorhomes?
Importing.
Oh, importing, right? Of course, I was thank you. That's interesting. What do you think about that?
They're not common here. I don't know if they even have motorhomes here.
No, I've never seen
them when people travel through Ecuador, down through South America. They'll drive through with their motorhomes, but I don't think there's motorhomes for sale here. So that might be a good idea, actually. A very good idea, potentially.
Yeah, I agree. I think did you cover this one? The question about Precor elliptical bikes.
No, I mean, I mentioned the gym in Vilcabamba. I don't know what a Precor elliptical bike is. There are definitely elliptical bikes and like cardiovascular equipment there. So yeah, there's.
But I think Vilca could probably use a great gym at this point. I mean, it has a gym, but like a legit great gym, I think would have a lot of demand at this point. Again,
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the gym is okay. Like I'm comparing it to what was available before. It's pretty good, but it's not like a, what is it, a modern, upper like Western type of gym. There are some of those in Loja, like large scale gyms that are very, very well equipped, like, almost to the same level as what you'd have in the Western world, really. But Vilcabamba does not have that. There's probably not a market for it. I mean, they might be at one point, but actually, if there was a nice big gym, there probably more people would be going there, like expats especially.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where that market would be today, but if it's not there, it's very close to being there. That's something that I think would be cool to have as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good cell phone coverage in Vilca and Loja. Yeah, absolutely. No issues there at all. Also, do people who live there order from online stores that are based in Ecuador? Almost no, very little. Anything to add on that?
Well, I would say I actually buy stuff online a lot in Ecuador. I mean, a lot. I don't know, but sometimes I look for stuff on Mercado Libre, on OLX. I found different people that sell stuff on Marketplace, and I've bought quite a few things online. It's a little different. You have to actually deposit money in their bank account before they send you anything. It's not with credit card. It's different. You have to like actually do the online banking and do a bank transfer. But you can find a lot of things online as well.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's not really online stores. It's more the sort of, advertised, like you said, on Facebook Marketplace or OLX or those kinds of places.
Yeah.
But that's right. I do that a lot as well. Any Mexican restaurants in Vilcabamba?
There's a few. There's two. I think two major Mexican restaurants, Mexibamba and El Mexicano. El Mexicano is actually run by a Mexican from Mexico who moved here. Very, very good, legit, was an authentic Mexican cuisine there.
Yep. This is a fun question. What international cuisines are represented in Vilca? And we're gonna on the retreat, we're gonna eat at all the best restaurants in Vilcabamba, which will be fun as well. So a lot of these will be part of that experience. But so there's Carl, you're gonna help me out with this list. But there's Mexican, there's two or at least two Italian, and I'm gonna say the ones really that have people who own them and run them who are from those countries, right? So there's Mexican, there's one Mexican, two Italian, Turkish. There's a guy from Iran doing stuff. There's Indian. There's now Thai, which is opening up, I think, next week. Okay, what am I missing? Probably a lot. Oh, Korean, great Korean. What else?
There's a French bakery.
Oh yeah,
legit French bakery. I think you covered pretty much all of it. I didn't know there was an Iranian. You mean the shawarma place?
Yeah, I think he's from Iran. I'm pretty sure.
He's from Morocco, actually. He's Moroccan.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm probably wrong.
The owner there, yeah, he speaks a little French. I spoke French with him. He's Moroccan.
All right. I stand corrected. Somebody likes your sweater, Carl. It is very lovely.
This is a typical like Ecuadorian, sweater. They make those here. They're very inexpensive. I think maybe $35 maybe for a nice sweater like this. They make them all sorts of colors. They're really nice and they're very comfortable. They're sort of perfect for this weather because they're not too warm. They're not really made for like super warm weather. And it's not cold by any means right now. I'm just sitting outside. I like wearing it.
No, absolutely. I have one of those too. A little bit different colors, but I wear it all the time. Can we bring to Ecuador a metal detector on the plane? I have no idea. Do you know if that's allowed on the plane? I mean, I don't see why not. It's just a personal item, but you'd have to check. There's a website that has the prohibited items. You could just Google it and find that very easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, last question, and we're gonna head out. What about utility trailers and cargo trailers as a business? Are they available tomorrow in Ecuador? Utility trailers, I guess you mean, I don't know a lot about this, but I guess you mean for trucks and cargo trailers for trucks, I assume. Yeah, you see that stuff occasionally. They do exist. You can buy them. They're not widely used would probably be my answer on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Great to be with you. We will try to keep this regularly scheduled Thursday nights, 5 p.m. Ecuador time. Tonight, again, we made exceptions for my massage. I can't say that without laughing at myself. Retreat coming soon. We'll be running that in July, but we'll have all the info on that soon. Tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central, I'll be doing a investing in Ecuador Q&A. I don't know. We'll see. Last week that was not super lively. Hopefully we'll get a good showing tomorrow. If not, I'll probably kill that and we'll just do the Thursday night lives. But again, thanks so much for joining us. Carl, any last words?
Well, just wanted to say, someone put in the comment, Herman talked about a German place too.
Oh, yeah.
Jesse, Ryan, and I had lunch there today. There's
It's
really good German food for sure. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and there's Aqua. I don't know what you call that. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's a lot of great restaurants here. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night. We'll catch you next week. All right.